So welcome back to the 21st annual Wild and Scenic Film Festival right here in Nevada City in Grass Valley. We are in the northern part of the Sierra Nevadas in the foothills, and we are delighted to be here at the Communal Cafe right here in Nevada City. It's been a fantastic weekend of filmmakers and artists, enthusiasts, activists, and I am so delighted to be here as your host. I'm Kimberly Ewing, arts advocate and educator. And I'm here today with someone who is no stranger to film. This is Shane Anderson. And Shane has been doing this for a decade now, and we'll talk about that. Welcome.
Thank you kindly. It's so nice to be back here in a beautiful Nevada City.
So you've been through some of the films, and how do you feel about the Wild and Scenic as it goes?
I love it.
I've
come every year since my first film back in, I think 2014 was my first film here.
Wow.
And I've been every year that there's been a festival.
Right, because a couple of years we had streaming only.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I miss it.
I know. Well, now we're going to be doing both, which is nice, so that streaming, but then also if you can come. So when we talk about the Wild and Scenic and the films that you make, Shane, this year's entries are about the Chinook spring salmon?
Yeah, absolutely. The spring Chinook salmon is the most revered Pacific salmon, and it is also the most endangered. So there's a new genetic discovery out of UC Davis that could help save them and put them on the endangered species list for further protections.
Okay. And the two films, tell me, the one was called The Lost Salmon, and then tell me your other one.
It's called Bring the Salmon Home. It's about a 300-mile indigenous-led run from the mouth of the Klamath River to the headwaters. It's a prayer run, solidarity run, where a lot of tribal communities come together during these mega droughts we've had, with it's pitting tribe against tribe, species against species, stakeholder against stakeholder. So it's a way for them to take the run, the route of the salmon upriver and go actually past the dams that they've been fighting to remove for the last 20 years that are coming down next year.
I know. Wow. Yay. That's the one thing I wanted to ask you too, is from your efforts and from years long, how do you feel that these dams are finally coming down after so many years of struggle and work?
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and I've actually been working on a documentary about that for the last 3 years, 3 to go, doing the official Undamming the Klamath film. So originally, the Bring the Salmon Home short was supposed to be a scene for that film.
Okay.
But dam removal got delayed a year due to some bureaucratic issues, so we decided to release the short in order to drive a little impact and public pressure toward this, the final hurdle in dam removal. So we're really excited. It's going to start fall of 23 into 24.
And as a filmmaker, Shane, that must feel so good that your work is starting to make change. One thing I wanted to say about the film is it Bring the Salmon Home. What I loved about that is our theme here at Wild and Scenic this year is unity in community. And so my question is, when I saw all those tribes helping each other and running together and supporting each other for the sake of the salmon, how did you make that happen? Or was that happening and you just captured it?
Yeah, so it's been going on since 2004, and it's completely a grassroots effort, and I was basically invited to come document it. And
it's been happening since 2004.
2004, yeah.
Wow. I wonder what was the impetus drought at that point, or the struggles of the dams because of the Chinook, or?
Yeah, in 2002, it was the worst fish kill in the history of the world. Close to 80,000 Chinook died on the lower Klamath, so these young gals, 18-year-old gals, started it, and it's just grown into this major community effort. And this last year, what we had documented was that now the Klamath tribes from the upper basin are involved, and the route goes another 100 miles past the dam to where eventually the salmon will be able to return home up to the headwaters.
So they're seeing the farthest boundaries so that they can see when the dams come down, that the salmon will return to its natural place all the way up, which they haven't been able to do. Is that correct?
100 years they haven't been up there. So the Klamath tribes have literally lost that part of their ceremony and culture for the last 100 years. So that reconnection to the salmon is going to be an incredibly powerful experience.
I can imagine.
The world's largest river restoration and the healing of an entire watershed community.
And it's happening when the dams will come down. What kind of timeline will that be to see that if all the way back up north? What time do you think that'll take?
Well, salmon are incredible species,
Yeah,
and
they
what
are.
we saw in the Elwha River, I did some documentation there, and it was almost instantaneous. As soon as the dams came down, the salmon were able to, they just wanted to keep going. So
they're the marathons, right?
They are.
They're the marathoners.
They are.
They're, from what I understand too, Shane, is that there's a symbiotic relationship with some of the larger animals. Can you talk a little bit about the other animals that are affected by either the depopulation or the repopulation of the Chinook? Like the killer whales, I remember, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So 137 species rely on salmon, and the spring salmon are probably the most important to the ecosystem because those fish evolved to go higher up into river systems that other salmon hadn't evolved to go up, and that's this genetic variant that was found at UC Davis. It's this migration gene, essentially, that allows them to time returning to rivers where they can ascend barriers and waterfalls. So they're not only are they the mariners and mountaineers of the salmon world, but they're also the triathletes, and they can accomplish these amazing feats, but they have to time it just right. Mm-hmm. So making it into these upper reaches of watershed allows their nutrients to benefit more forests and animals and the entire ecosystem and web. So losing that is going to have has had major indirect effects, and that the most pronounced is the southern resident killer whales, the plight of them. It's directly linked to Chinook, as 95% of their diet is Chinook. They evolved to be Chinook eaters.
Wow. So that is like that biodiversity connection and seeing how this is all going to connect. That's really amazing. Now, Shane, you've done many films, so I'm curious, we're kind of running out of time at this point. I would love to know you're doing the salmon de-damming, but what else is on your mind of activities or projects?
Yeah, so I started making films for impact, specifically salmon rivers, and now it's evolving into more socio-environmental issues.
Okay.
I've been working with a lot more indigenous communities the last few years. I just wrapped up another feature called Covenant of the Salmon People. It's a portrait of the Nez Perce tribe in Idaho.
Oh, wow.
And so be on the lookout for that next year, and we're working on the Undamming the Klamath story, which is much more of a human-driven story than an actual story about removing the dam. The dam is kind of this metaphor, is this monument of genocide and ecocide, really.
Right.
So,
and Shane, when we look at your career, you've been doing these kind of important films for about 10 years, you said. If someone was watching right now, what's some insight about someone who wants to make a difference using the medium of film? What would you say?
Definitely start with something you're passionate about, and be able to have the flexibility to just finish the project, even if it doesn't feel like it's finished, because you got to put an end to some of these things in order to evolve and make it to the next step.
Right.
And it's a hard thing as a creative to say, okay, it's done, it's time to move on.
Yeah. And when you close a project like this, how does it make you feel as a filmmaker?
It's great, coming out to these events, engaging in the Q&As with the audience. I mean, that's my favorite part. Like I said, I got into film for the impact.
Yep.
So that's my favorite part about it, is hitting the road with them.
We'll be seeing you again, Shane.
Yeah,
it sounds awesome. Thank you so much for all your work.
Thank you so much.
And I will be wanting to see that film about the dams coming down. I think everybody was in your film session yesterday when I was there. Everybody was like, yay! Yeah. So very excited to see what's next there.
Yeah, we'll be updating on our website, undammingtheklamath.com, if people want to check out the updates. So
Great.
We'll be hard at work the next few years.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you kindly.
Such a pleasure. You've been here at the 21st Annual Wild and Scenic Film Festival, and we'll continue with more filmmakers and more activists. See you soon. Thank you.